We all have an ideal for how life is going to be. And we were taught growing up that longevity is one of the most important things. A marriage is somehow better if it lasted longer. People are praised for having the same friends their whole lives. If you start a job you hate, you can't quit after only a month, because what does that say about you? Instead of seeing evolution as normal, healthy, and important, we see change as something to fear and a sign of poor commitment, bad relationships, or plainly, like something is wrong with that person. But is that fair? If you were to go through your phone right now, I bet you have at least 25 people in there you haven't talked to in years. Your social media following, I bet of the people you actually know, less than half of them are ones you talk to on a regular basis. You have relationships that are unsatisfying, where you leave the interaction feeling drained, insecure, or upset for days after the interaction. But hey, at least you have long-term relationships, right? No. And it's time we change our thinking pattern. Longevity is not the key to healthy relationships. Depth, safety, and authenticity is. So let's jumpstart that shift in our brain today. Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Untethering Shame. I'm your host, Kira Wackett, and today I want to talk about endings and the reality that not all relationships are meant to last forever. Sometimes we hold on to people and relationships because they're comfortable, they're familiar, they're predictable, but perhaps the love or connection has faded or was never really there. So, for example, that friendship that's drifted apart long ago, but you keep saying, we should get together. Or the loveless marriage that you stay in because divorce would be too hard on the kids. This is also true of virtual connection, connecting with someone on social media that you don't know or whom you haven't talked to in 20 years, keeping connections open that have died and creating a false sense of abundance with no depth, clarity, and growth. Not all relationships are meant to last forever. Perhaps their role in our lives, or ours and theirs, is meant to be temporary. That doesn't mean one or both of us failed or is bad. It simply means that the connection is no longer active or in service to both parties. We have to be honest with ourselves when we've reached an end in a relationship and be more critical of the connections we invite into our lives, even on social media. We have to be able to grieve the endings and gain clarity on the difference between superficial connection and that of depth and truth. Only then can we free up the background processing energy to invest more deeply in the love and connection that's true and real for all of us. So I want you to think about some of these questions. Are there relationships in your life no longer serving you, or for or with whom you no longer hold love in your heart? Who are they? How do you know? What scares you most about letting these relationships go? Where did these fears and misconceptions come from? Are there ways that we can check them out with others or challenge those thoughts? What and who do you need to support you in allowing these endings to occur? And what's one intention that you can set for yourself and hold on to as you move towards this change? Letting go of relationships that don't serve you and giving more space to those that do is an incredibly difficult piece. But if you can anchor on your values or the goals that you have of how you're redesigning your life, it can help us tremendously in that process. So I know as I'm going through and I'm sharing this, some of you are feeling stuck. You're noticing some resistance come up because you're thinking, but that relationship could get better. Or she's not talking about me. This relationship is actually not that bad. Look, that's okay. This is a lot to consider, especially when we've designed our life in a way where hustle culture predetermines everything that we do. So asking you to slow down and be honest with yourself can feel really vulnerable and scary. This is a lot, and the brain works better when we make big changes more approachable in small bites. So if you are feeling this, but on some level you know that this might be the right next step for you when you think about those interpersonal connections and really reframing the way you're spending energy in them, here are a few small things that you can do to start clearing the clutter of superficial and ended relationships. First, go through your phone contacts and delete anyone that you don't talk to anymore. Now head to social media, and I want you to delete every person with whom you wouldn't get together with to have coffee or you haven't talked to in more than a year. or from whom that you don't derive positive energy, support, and value. Now, for many of us, I know that's going to be a tricky one. But again, if it's someone you know and you follow and you're just kind of watching them as they post pictures or statuses, kind of in the back end, not deriving positive energy, support, and connection. If you're holding on to old relationships, if you're feeling bad about letting them go, again, not healthy. And especially when we think about influencers and other people that we follow, ask yourself what you're getting out of these connections and not just following them because you got a little hit of dopamine or because you think you should or you've been in this field for so long. Third, I want you to make a list of your greatest connections, and then I want you to brainstorm what it is that you love about them and the relationship that you have. You can use this then as a tool to help you assess other relationships in your life. So, i.e., do they also provide me with this type of love and support? Do I feel safe with these people like I do with these others? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that every relationship has to have the same depth or connection, but what we're looking for is continuity and the sense of safety and security that we have, regardless of how close the relationship is. Now, I want you to look at that list and I want you to make plans with someone on it. Bonus if this is someone that you haven't connected with in some time or feel particularly drawn to. And yes, I know it can be challenging. Many of our connections and relationships are maybe living in another state or another country. So you know what? While many of us got comfortable with Zoom or other technologies, have a wine and cheese night over Zoom or FaceTime with them while you're cooking dinner. Watch a favorite show together online or revisit your love for the outdoors, even in the cold, and invite somebody to go on a hike with you. I don't want you to use distance or time and busyness as an excuse. Instead, I want you to think about connection as necessary, valid, and important to both you and the other party. So reaching out and putting those plans together, not sitting with that, oh, we should do something soon. Now, last, I want you to remember, it's okay that not every relationship stays the course of your life. You're not broken because you don't have the same friends since you were a kid. It's okay the relationship that you thought you would have forever has faded and you chose to go another route. Without the courage to prune, we won't have the space to build new and supportive connections. But I do think it's important to remind yourself, grief, even if on the outside someone can see that that relationship was toxic or unhealthy, grief is still going to be a part of your process. So be mindful. Be compassionate with yourself and to remember that the first step is to build the insight, to really build that buy-in and awareness for ourselves. And then we're going to take that to action. And from there, again, making that space to grieve and to heal, and then to build out those new connections when you feel ready. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. I truly appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I hope you found it valuable. I'd love to hear from you, anything and everything that came up, so be sure to leave us a comment or send me a voice memo so that we can connect and I can support you in this work. If you found today's episode valuable and insightful, I encourage you to subscribe, leave a review, hit that 5-star button, and of course, share this episode with someone you think could benefit from hearing it. If you're ready to take that next step in your own shame resilience journey, be sure to click the link in the show notes to download my free handout, 5 things shame resilient people do every day and 3 things that they don't. You also want to make sure that you check out that link to my new program, Liberated Living. It is in its 2nd round, opening up this fall, starting in October, and space is limited to just 8 people to do a deep dive workshop on radical acceptance and really thinking about what resilient living looks like for each of them. So make sure that you snag your spot today if you are ready to get all in and immersive with another group of people that is ready to do that work alongside of you. And if you're looking for other ways to connect or you're like, gosh, that's great, but I don't know where to go from here, just click the link in the show notes and set up a discovery call and we can talk all about it together. Thank you for tuning in today. And remember, change takes time, but every step counts. So stay the course, stay hopeful, and stay committed to your well-being. We'll be back with more insightful discussions to support you on your journey. Until then, take care, and we'll catch you next episode.